The following program is sponsored by Max Out Savings Advisors. The views expressed during the broadcast are solely for entertainment purposes and do not necessarily express the views of KNTH, its management, Max Out Savings Advisors, or its sponsors. Max Out Savings Advisors and members of the Max Out Savings team may or may not hold securities mentioned during the show. Plan for your prosperity. Prepare for your retirement. Safeguard your savings. And nurture your investments. This is the Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka, a presentation of Max Out Savings Advisors. Now, here's your host from Max Out Savings Advisors, Ted Gioka.
Good morning. Welcome to the Max Out Savings Show. I'm Ted Gioka, and we're talking savings, investments in your retirement on the Max Out Savings Show, one of Houston's longest-running financial radio shows. I've been on the air for over 15 years. And we've got we were preempted by the Baylor game, so we're on a special time at 11 o'clock today. And so I'm happy y'all are tuning in and listening to the show. Our motto and our philosophy is to save aggressively and invest conservatively. That's the key to building up wealth over the long term. Save aggressively and invest conservatively. You always want to start with your 401k plan. We're going to be discussing that. We're also going to be talking about the world's issues, what's happening with Donald Trump, how's that going to affect your retirement. All of these things are there, and we're going to be talking about them on the show. But as I said, first, we want to just touch base on 401ks. You want to first, or your 403b, your different qualified plans. You want to put away as much money for retirement as possible, a minimum of 10%, plus the company match. That gets you up to 13, 14%. That's kind of where the numbers say that you need to save for retirement. Now, the beauty of this is a couple things. It's income-based savings, which means you're saving at your spending and earning level. And so if you're making $30,000 or $300,000, you're going to get the same result. In retirement, you'll be able to live in those standards. And the other thing is, you're getting a tax deduction. So you put the money in. If your top tax rate's 25%, you get back 25% of that money because you're taking it off the top end of your savings. And the other thing to look at, the big thing is tax-free growth. Why did Warren Buffett buy an insurance company? He bought the insurance company because he realized he could shelter his capital gains, shelter his income using the different insurance laws. The government gives you this program that Warren Buffett doesn't get. He goes, hey, we're going to give you a deduction on it. So you're going to get some of your money back. You're going to grow tax-free. And then when you take it out 30 years from now, you'll be able to sit there. You'll pay ordinary income tax. That's the best deal out there anywhere in the world for saving money. And so if you're not saving enough, now's the time. We're coming up on year end, and now's the time to jump in and start saving more money. We're in December now, and so if you're not there yet, take charge of your retirement, call your HR person, and get the job done. We at Max Out Savings Advisors, we manage retirement money. We don't manage money that we manage IRA rollover money. We manage that type of thing. We don't manage 401ks, but this is so important that we always want to talk about this to you ahead of time to kind of remind you where it all starts from, where your retirement starts from. Because remember, if you retired at age 65, you probably got the number, I think it's 92, 93, you got a 50% chance you or your wife lives to be 92, 93 years old. Let's say 95, maybe it's 45% or something. If you look at that number, that is 30 years. This money's got to last you 30 years in retirement. And with inflation in the world today, this will chew your retirement up and it'll destroy your retirement. And this is why it's so important to manage through this inflation that we're dealing with. This is why you didn't want to own long-term bonds for the last 5 years. The interest rates have gone from the 10-year bottomed in 2020 at about 0.5%. It's right now. It's I don't have it with me right now, but it's gone up materially. We had the worst bond market for long-term bonds in decades about 2 years ago, which is so. If you're locking in long-term bonds and inflation takes off, you're in trouble. So that's one thing you want to kind of continue to look at. You've got to understand inflation. You have to understand what companies are going to profit from inflation, what companies aren't going to profit from inflation, and manage through inflation, because inflation is the biggest destroyer of retirement income. And you've got to be very cognizant of this. If you're on a pension, if you're on a fixed income, if you're on a fixed annuity, or even to a lesser extent Social Security, if inflation takes off, it's going to destroy your retirement. The talk coming into the election, particularly from the Biden administration, was inflation in the Fed inflation's going away, it's going down, inflation's falling, it's down to 2.5 or 2.8%. This is great. Inflation is falling. It peaked up close to 9% about 2 years ago. Well, the problem with that, the inflation rate is falling. That doesn't mean the price of goods is falling, so the food in your grocery basket isn't going down. So when you hear all this inflation falling, that is not the case. If inflation's going down 2% a year, that means the price of your goods are going down. And so you have to understand this. You have to protect yourself and understand the world today. And so we try to help you out with this on the show. We also send out a monthly report called the Max Out Savings Report. It's completely free. And we write a lot about these issues in the report, so you can understand what's happening in the world today. And to understand how to protect yourself. There's different ways. We look at the question of, do you rent or do you own? If you look at in Texas, you're once you hit age 65, your taxes start freezing up or really slowing down, depending on which taxing entity you have. But that's a huge savings. I talking to one of our clients the other day, and the comment they made is, wow, our Austin house the taxes are 3 times what the Houston house is, and the Houston house is probably worth twice as much. And I had to explain to them, well, that's because you've been grandfathered in your Houston house for 25 years now, and so your taxes are much lower. The other one you didn't have the homestead exemption on, and so you have to understand these little things. If you bought your house, if you're pretty much locking in your interest rate, you're locking in once you're over 65, your taxes. If you're renting, the rent goes up. Rent is one of the biggest increases of inflation we've seen in a long time. So all of these things are you have to understand these opportunities. So you look at your total retirement, and if it's all fixed income, then you have to lean harder to manage for inflation on the other side with your other money that you might have. So something to think about. Again, inflation is going up. So the question we have is, well, Ted, inflation's now back to 2.6%, is it 2.5%? We're not seeing that happen. We still think this inflation is here. There's so much money being borrowed. There's so much money being spent. We're borrowing money at the rate of $1 trillion every 100 days. In addition, we just hit $36 trillion worth of debt. Our interest on payment of the debt is now over the everything but Social Security, Medicare costs. It's over the defense. We're spending more on interest rate, and this is why the Trump win is so critical to your retirement. He's put together a couple things. Now, what did we just say? Think about it. We're borrowing an additional $1 trillion every 100 days. We've got $35 trillion worth of debt. If you look at it, the problem is our deficits are about 6.8% of GDP of what we're borrowing an additional 6.8% or more than we're spending every year, and so this is not a good situation. Now, this means, so how do you get out of this? Of course, you print money like crazy, but that's going to cause inflation, and that's going to wipe out your retirement. Now, why it's so important with Trump is Donald Trump has come in there and he's put together the broadest, actually, political coalition probably in any president in modern history, believe it or not. I mean, for all the talk of Donald Trump was Adolf Hitler and stuff, he's put in numerous people that were Democrats 2 years ago into positions. He's come in. You look at Tulsi Gabbard, you look at RFK Jr., you look at Elon Musk. The list just goes on and on. And so, looking at that, what we're seeing is this is a broad growth coalition, and what he's going to do is he's going to sit there and he put together the DOGE Commission, which is the Department of Government Efficiency. And what that's going to do is they're going to reduce spending, they're going to reduce regulations, and they're going to reduce the cost of government. Government has ceased to function for everybody, but if you look at it, the only place government functioned really well was for big corporations and the super rich. They kind of got what they want. It was a huge mistake, because what happened when they did that is the wealthy people, the powerful people in the country were kind of getting what they're wanting, and the government was getting more and more and more inefficient, and those people who typically kind of can move things one way or another, they sort of didn't pay attention. Instead, what we got is we have a situation where now you're going to put people in government, and if you put these commissions in, and if you return power to the people, to the working people in the country, when things start going off in government, they hear about it, they're pressured back, and things are changing. We're going to put in this government efficiency committee. This is going to reduce our costs. It's going to reduce our borrowing. If people around the West, the Chinese aren't buying our debt, the Japanese aren't buying our debt, the Arabs aren't buying our debt, I don't think the Europeans are. People look at the United States and go, these guys are borrowing $1 trillion every 100 days. Their deficits are 6.8% of GDP. In case they went as high as over 9% of GDP the last 4 or 5 years. We all see where this is going. So what he has to do is, and with his new Treasury Secretary, they've got to convince the rest of the world that, hey, we're the place to be, we're the place to make investments, we're cleaning up our act, we're cutting out this reckless government spending. When that happens, interest rates are going to start falling later next year. But first, there's going to be some tough times to get all this done. But it's very exciting. And why that is critical is because if they don't get it under control, the deficits are going to spiral, and we're going to go into a hyperinflation. And so this is good. I mean, this is a huge win. The more we've analyzed the win with President Trump, actually, the better it is. Oftentimes, the new president comes in, and you know, his first 30 days or so, they start backtracking. They put moderates in on both sides of the aisle, whatever. Rhinos come in. It's like, hey, obviously things aren't going to change that much. If you look at President Trump, he has changed the direction of what he's doing from when he's been elected, almost a couple weeks, to what he's doing now, and he's becoming more populist. He's put together the DOGE Commission. He's put together an incredible group of people in his place to get this thing going. And it's becoming very clear to everyone he is very serious, from the people he's putting in there, about fundamentally altering the direction of the United States government. And this is exciting, but it's going to have long-term consequences to your retirement. And we're going to be right back to discuss some of these things right here on the Max Out Savings Show.
The Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka is taking your calls now at 713-339-1070. Ted Gioka will return after these messages.
Hey everybody, Charlie Kirk here. Ted Gioka, the founder of Max Out Savings Advisors, always says, save aggressively and invest conservatively. He specializes in helping people grow their retirement account with as little risks as possible. Ted combines working knowledge with the intuition gained from over 25 years of experience of value investing in the stock and bond markets for retirement accounts. Like you, Ted is deeply conservative in life and in his investment approach. His risk strategy allows him to anticipate market downswings to protect your money. Ted is also the conservative host of the Max Out Savings Show. You can listen to him every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. right here on The Answer. If the idea of saving aggressively and investing conservatively appeals to you, the best way to get to know Ted is to call him. The number is 713-627-0400 or visit maxoutsavings.com. That is maxoutsavings.com. Call Ted right now, 713-627-0400, or visit maxoutsavings.com.
Hi, this is Ted Gioka of the Max Out Savings Show. Our motto and philosophy is to save aggressively and invest conservatively. The world is changing at a faster rate than any time in the last 50 years. The investment world has changed. Have you changed? Inflation will destroy your retirement. It is a different world that requires different strategies and ideas. The era of indexing and investing is over. If you need help, listen to the Max Out Savings Show. Our show airs every Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. We talk about investments, the world, and where the world is going today, and help you understand it and help you save money and build up wealth. It's the Max Out Savings Show. And if you need some help, go to our website, maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com. On the website, you can sign up for the free Max Out Savings Report. Our report covers all types of these big issues, the changes in the world, and helps you understand and protect your retirement. So go to the website, maxoutsavings.com.
Once again, here's your host for the Max Out Savings Show, Ted Gioka.
Welcome back to the Max Out Savings Show. We're talking savings investments in your retirement here. We're on a special Sunday edition of the show here, and you can also follow our podcast by going to AM 1070 The Answer and just go down to the podcast. You can listen to the podcast. In addition, they're out on the internet. We're going to be expanding for 25 on more podcasts out there. So get a chance catch the podcast. Another thing we want to run by one of our sponsors, Rangoni Alto Gin, which is a botanical gin, an Italian botanical gin from the Italian Alps. It's got the finest ingredients, all organic. One of the finest gins in the world, and you can get it here in Houston, just at Specs or other good liquor stores. But if you get a chance, try it out. It's a botanical gin made of the finest ingredients in the world. It's Rangoni Alto Gin. Look for the kingfisher bird on the label. Now, we're just talking about inflation. Is inflation going? We're not seeing it. We're still seeing. If you look what President Trump's going to do, he's going to really push to move manufacturing back to the U.S., which is going to keep pressure on workers, and that's going to be a positive. If you look at commodities, the AI boom is causing by 2030. Close to 9 to 10% of electricity in the U.S. should be used by AI as well. But keep in mind, we also have electric vehicles. That requires more power plants, more power lines, upgrades of power systems. This requires more copper, more aluminum, more zinc, more lithium. All of these things are going to come into play. So we think the inflation is still going. Now, one area where we're going to see the deflation, and this is important, and this is coming up particularly now, is there's going to be big cuts in government spending. Two areas. One of them is, I'll tell you that with federal spending, and the second is state spending. Now, I'll hit on the state first. State and local governments have been given billions, hundreds of billions of dollars under the COVID guise, everything from COVID stabilization to getting the kids back up to speed after they were out of school for a half a year. And all of that money was really ended September 30th of this year, which is the fiscal year 24 for the government. And so there's a fiscal cliff on a lot of this money coming back. The school districts across the country are taking huge hits on this. And a lot of them, rather than spending the money on the children, invested in more teachers, more administrators, and those type of things. And so there's going to be cutbacks in state, local governments, school districts around the country, which means there's going to be layoffs in government spending. There's an enormous amount of Build Back Better, wipe out inflation now. These are, $800 billion deals. One of them was close to $1 trillion. The infrastructure, all of these things, a lot of that spending was designed to end right at the election time, because in addition, you wanted to get this money out there, you wanted it spent for the election time so the Biden administration can be reelected. It didn't happen, but there's a fiscal cliff there. The second thing is the DOGE Commission. They're very serious about cutting spending. If we don't cut spending, the United States is going to spiral into hyperinflation like Argentina. And so They got Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk, and they're advertising for super bright, talented people to get on this commission. They're not messing around. Keep in mind, Elon Musk is putting rockets up at probably 1/6 the cost of NASA, probably less than that. I mean, Elon Musk right now is launching the payload tonnage 83% of the global space launches. That's how dominant he is. So this guy is smart. He can do the job. He can get things done. And so they're not messing around. Vivek is a self-made multi-millionaire, very successful person. If you look at the other people around him, if you look at J.D. Vance, these people know where the issues are. Look at the cabinet people they're putting in there. Everything from Kash Patel and FBI. These are change agents across the board. So again, this is the most exciting group of people, without a doubt. Actually, I said this a month ago. Trump's people were the most exciting since RFK. Since then, it's even more. This is the most exciting group of cabinet people and biggest change agents since John F. Kennedy Jr. That's 60 years ago. So things are going to change. There's going to be big time. Here's an easiest one. All government officials, federal government officials, have to start working. The majority of them are working remotely. They have to sit there and start working in their offices going forward. Well, there's a lot of people that aren't going to want to do it, and so they're just going to quit. So you're going to see layoffs, and you're going to see unemployment probably jump up in the first quarter of next year as some of this stuff starts paying through the system. And so you're going to see there's going to be a lot of turmoil. It's almost like if you look at two rivers. I think the pictures of the Amazon where one of the tributaries comes in and it's all muddy, and another one is clear, and you get this huge mixing. We're in the mixing phases right now. There's going to be a lot of dissension. The Democrats are going to go wild. I mean, they're on their back, on their heels right now, and this election went really bad for them any way you look at it, and so what we're seeing is they're going to have to fight back now, and so you're going to see this happen. You're going to see protests. You're going to see all types of things. They're going to try to stop the nominees. And so they have to act quickly. Trump has to act quickly. We got this deficit out of control. They have to convince the global financial system that, hey, we're serious people. We're going to get the job done. If they can, but that's going to take a number of months. If they can do that, that's going to help out. That's going to drop interest rates. But again, lots of cuts are coming in government spending. If you look at California, I want to say last year or this year, the hiring in California has been over 90% state officials. It's government officials in California. I mean, this has been all over the country where there's been massive ramping up over the last 4 years of hiring of government officials and bureaucrats, to the point that nothing is getting accomplished in the United States anymore. This is going to have to be redone. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be volatile. It's going to be up and down. So I think, again, I think you want to be a little careful being fully invested in this market. You really want to be much, much more cautious in your strategy. Right now, the American public is as bullish as they've been in over a decade. Some of the numbers saying going back to 1999. And people are super bullish. Everything, but the market has been going up. The market is expensive. And it is going to, and what that's doing is, it's not, things aren't cheap. The stock market didn't sell down ahead of the election because it was, oh my gosh, we're not sure who's going to win. Nothing has really knocked this market down. It's going up quite a bit. But what you're going to see happen is somewhere in here there's going to be some issues start popping up. It's not all going to be sunshine and unicorns under Donald Trump as soon as he gets in there. As much as we love the guy, it's going to be very turbulent. And so I think what you want to do in this world is really kind of spread your risk out. Spread your risk out with inflation, for the economy, and all those types of things, because this is the government spending, which has been carrying a lot of the economy, is slowing down dramatically. It's going to decrease, and we have to have the handoff to the domestic economy to the manufacturing economy. And so when that happens, so in that world, again, I think you want to still continue shorter-term bonds until we get an idea of what's going to happen. Do we have some type of budget crisis where people just start not wanting to buy our bonds because of President Trump or because something else is going on? We still have the war with Russia. You know, I've talked to military people. I've talked to all types of people. You know, I was talking to someone the other day, just either like Ted, very, very, very brilliant person. It's like I don't think this thing stops until Russia eventually launches a tactical nuke where people actually go, oh my gosh, there's a problem here. Right now they're ignoring the issues. And it's very intractable group of people. Same thing in the Middle East. We get a ceasefire with Hezbollah, and the next day there's, you know, war breaking out in Syria. And people are being pressured, and the question is, what happens, where do things break, and where do things go wrong? Trump gets his people in there with Marco Rubio and the team he's put in place, and he's putting people in, you know, he's putting certain people in to manage the Ukraine-Russia relations, putting other people in to manage the Middle East, and so he's got whole teams in place to manage this, but it's going to take some time. And the scary thing about this, these wars, particularly with the Ukraine-Russia war, is, you know, Putin says, hey, don't send the long-range missiles into Russia. That's a red line, and the U.S. and England and the U.K. do it, and then he goes and launches a ballistic hypersonic missile and drops a bunch of them in there and takes out. It's like the market goes down for about 15 minutes and goes back up again. That's worrisome. People forget during the Cuban Missile Crisis, people were in a panic. We've had clients that the kids, they were sent to the ranch because they didn't want them in Houston because they're worried about a nuclear attack. And there's too much complacency with this war with Russia right now that everything's going to work out. We think eventually it's going to, but we'd like to see some concern and some real fear so people go, okay, well, enough of this. What can we do to solve the situation? And so I think this is this. So I think it's going to be a volatile thing. Can we get control of our spending? What's going to happen? Is Congress going to work with Donald Trump, or is it going to be business as usual in Washington D.C.? I mean, there's a battle. I mean, there are people. There's billions of dollars to be made. There are billions of dollars. People, they're going to get their not just bureaucrats losing their jobs, but the people that are making 10, 20, $100 million a year on various things the government is doing, that their incomes are jeopardized. It's not going to be an easy situation. And so in that environment, there's going to be a lot of chop, and you want to use those to take advantage and give you the opportunities. So again, we're looking out for a retirement portfolio. You want to be in stocks, bonds, precious metals. Gold, I think it's over 25, 26% year to date. It's one of the top performing asset classes in the world. Overseas, we're starting to look at the overseas markets because the valuation is between Europe and Europe has done horribly this year. The U.S. is up over 20 points above Europe. The dollar's very strong. A lot of the emerging markets are down. There's opportunity. If you look at the valuation basis, we talked about it on the show. In China, if you compare Alibaba to Amazon's at 36 times earnings, and I want to say Alibaba was at about 10 times earnings, and they had a lot of cash in the company, and so I think the overvaluation of the United States is coming to an end. I think if you look at it based on other valuations based on other countries, we're way out on the curve, many standard deviations away from what normal should be. Another way to look at it is the United States stock market it's over 70% of the world's total markets right now, which is a gigantic number. If you look at the total market capitalization of Europe, Japan, China, Zimbabwe, whatever, you put them all in a package, the United States is over 70% of the market capitalization. We're not even a quarter of the global economy, and so there's this huge value dichotomy that's opening up. And so I think that is going to be another opportunity to look around. The other thing one of the markets I believe is really lagging here is the silver market. And I think if you look at gold has exploded higher. Silver's just a little underneath it. It's done well, but typically silver outperforms gold 100%. If silver's up, if gold's up 25%, silver's up 50%. And we're not seeing that yet. I think you're going to see silver make a run into the 40s. There's huge demand for precious metals. Some of the central banks around the world are starting to buy silver, and there's huge demand for silver for the electrification with AI in electric cars, and particularly solar panels. And just huge demand for this, and it hasn't really moved up as much as it should have, and so I think that's going to be an opportunity. I think copper, if you look at the copper demand charts, are just off the charts with everything from AI to new power mines, new power plants, to power lines, to the AI, and as well as the electric cars. And so all of these things are adding up to big demand, and so we like the copper sector as well. So these are just some areas. So we think this inflation is going to continue. We think commodities are going to continue to do well, and we think international markets are going to do better in 25. I think the U.S. market is going to broaden out, but it's very expensive. And as we said, we're in the honeymoon phase. I mean, things are going great. I'd love to be at the parties at Mar-a-Lago, but these guys all know, come a couple weeks, it's going to be World War III on the political set in Congress, and I think that's going to ignite some changes. Tell you what, why don't we take a quick break, and we'll be right back right here on the Max Out Savings Show.
If you've got savings and investment questions, Ted Gioka has answers. Call the Max Out Savings Show now at 713-339-1070. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Sam Malone, the owner of Houston's cutting-edge media company called 512 New Media. At 512 New Media, we create amazing videos that companies use on their websites, telling their story in bold colors with exciting animation and graphics. At 512 New Media, we also shoot television commercials and instructional videos. And if you want to show off your business from the air, we're ready to go with our drone video aircraft. Let us help you create your media message. We're online at 512newmedia.com or call 281-822-8803. 512 New Media is Houston's only media creation and distribution company that's actually owned by someone who's currently on the air. And that gives us an incredible edge when creating content for consumers to use on their laptops, tablets, and smartphones. Standing by to create your message, we're 512 New Media, 512newmedia.com.
This is Ted Gioka, host of the Max Out Savings Show, one of Houston's most popular financial radio shows, celebrating over a decade on the air in Houston, Texas. With stocks at record high valuations and interest rates near record lows, you need to have your guard up. You need to have a plan to manage risk to your retirement. Do you? At Max Out Savings Advisors, we have a risk-based value investing approach to your retirement. If you would like some help managing your retirement, go to maxoutsavings.com to set up an appointment. That's maxoutsavings.com. In the 1970s, the big song was the Bee Gees' Staying Alive. Well, it was difficult back then to stay alive if you were a retiree. Inflation was running rampant, and since then, over the last 25 years, it's gone away. Well, inflation's coming back, and it's going to endanger your retirement. If you're a retiree, inflation is your biggest enemy. Hi, this is Ted Gioka of the Max Out Savings Show. If you need help with your retirement, I'd like to help you out. Go to maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com, and we'll show you how you manage through inflation. Don't let inflation destroy your retirement.
We return now to the Max Out Savings Show. Here's Ted Gioka.
Hey everybody, Charlie Kirk here. Ted Gioka, the founder of Max Out Savings Advisors, always says, save aggressively and invest conservatively. He specializes in helping people grow their retirement account with as little risks as possible. Ted combines working knowledge with the intuition gained from over 25 years of experience of value investing in the stock and bond markets for retirement accounts. Like you, Ted is deeply conservative in life and in his investment approach. His risk strategy allows him to anticipate market downswings to protect your money. Ted is also the conservative host of the Max Out Savings Show. You can listen to him every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. right here on The Answer. If the idea of saving aggressively and investing conservatively appeals to you, the best way to get to know Ted is to call him. The number is 713-627-0400 or visit maxoutsavings.com. That is maxoutsavings.com. Call Ted right now, 713-627-0400 or visit maxoutsavings.com.
And now, more of the Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka.
Welcome back to the Max Out Savings Show. We're talking savings investments in your retirement. By the way, if you have a question or comment, give us a call at 713-339-1070. We're Houston's most popular financial radio shows. And one of the things that we also do is we have a free newsletter we send out. It's called the Max Out Savings Report. Just go to the website, maxoutsavings.com. You can sign up for it. We write about retirement. We write about the markets. We write about the world today. We write what we think is going to happen and try to get you ahead of time. And we try to find stuff that other people aren't talking about and bring them to you. It's the maxoutsavings.com and just request a free report. And that's all. We send it out. You're not going to be called or bothered. Go to maxoutsavings.com and give it a try. So looking out, a couple things. If you look at this inflation, it's been just devastating for working people in the United States of America. And one of the places that has been in housing. I saw a statistic. Housing is up 50% in the last 5 years. Think about that, 50%. Now, 5 years ago, mortgage rates were about 4%. Right now, they're about 6.5%. And so, but let's just assume it's 6.5%. Well, let's just assume it's 6%. If you add those two up, housing prices went up 50%. The mortgages went from 4 to 6%. That means your fee, not your fee, but your mortgage payment has gone up 125% in 5 years. And a lot of people can't afford that. And this is the problem. What are we going to do for our younger generation? How are we going to get them in houses? And because interest rates have gone up, and there's been a huge demand on there's a shortage of housing. In addition, the Biden administration has flooded the country with illegal immigrants, driving up rent and housing prices. So it's a struggle. But it's not just a struggle there. It's at the grocery store. It's with inflation. Why do I bring that up? Is because we're seeing with Trump's cabinet, again, the most diverse political cabinet. Think about that for a second, that we've had in probably 50 years. I forgot who, it was one of the big papers looked at this, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, somebody, and that's what they came up with. And the reason why they came up with that is that they looked at it. And if you look at Tulsi Gabbard, if you look at Elon Musk, if you look at RFK Jr., these people, they're populists like Trump. The reason I'm bringing this up about the inflation is people are hurting, they're struggling, they're not happy with how things are going. And so the country is going to be more populous. Wall Street, I think it was Obama came in power, and like half of Goldman Sachs went over to be cabinet members. It was ridiculous. And that's not going to happen. The door is not wide open in the Trump White House for a bunch of Goldman Sachs members to be the cabinet members. People are fed up. Wall Street's had a free ride. The working people in this country are struggling. Again, their house note is up 125% in 5 years. Hey, most of us have a house. It doesn't bother us that much, but if you're just starting out like our kids, it's a struggle. They're like, Dad, how am I going to be able to afford a house? And it's like this. So something has to be done, and this is why you're going to see the big changes happen out there. And so in that environment, we're going to be more populous. then that's not going to be the best thing for a lot of Wall Street stocks. A lot of companies, if it's a drug company, the first thing, if I'm president, the first thing I'd start looking at is ridiculous drug prices. Then I'd take a look at the drug companies that are producing it in Ireland at ridiculously low tax rates and then bringing the drugs over to the United States of America and charging us the highest rates in the world. I mean, we could do 2 shows straight talking about the drug industry. If you look at the food industry, again, it's another area where we're paying high food costs with huge amounts of cancer-causing ingredients, and that's going to be cleaned up, but that's expensive. It's more expensive to put flavoring and coloring that are natural than it is using chemicals. That's going to hurt. That's going to hurt margins there. Let's look at the military. This is an interesting one. There's going to have to be cuts in there's not going to be cuts in military spending. We've got to get inflation under control in military contracts and particularly military projects. I think the F-35, I was looking at that, a story on that, and they put all these additions onto the F-35 jet, so it became hotter, it became bigger and bigger. Well, the problem was the engines could only produce so much, and so the only way they could get more thrust is to sit there and run the engines up to over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which is incredibly expensive. They're very hard to maintain those engines and stuff. This is the problem with having things that are having too complex, having too many cooks in the kitchen, and they're making it overly expensive. We have to fight the Chinese. The Chinese will defeat us if we're sitting there paying $100 million plus for every little plane out there. And the planes, if we want a new plane system, takes a decade to get in place. So this has all got to be cleaned up. Now, the good news for the defense contractors is they can clean up the regulations there. That's a positive. Same with the banks. It's now coming out that the Biden administration has been debanking people using these ridiculous regulations. They've been debanking conservatives and Trump supporters. But that's got to come to an end. But all this regulation that they're having to quote, money, anti-money law, that all requires huge amounts of expenses for the banks. If we can cut it out, we'll still catch the people laundering the money. Don't worry about that. But it's going to reduce the cost. That's very positive there. Medical devices, they're not that expensive, and it's a one-time thing. You're probably better off in that sector. So all these different things. Precious metals, I think, as we said, it's going to continue to do well. Copper, mining, those things there's huge demand for these products out there. Those sectors are going to do better. I think oil and gas. We don't want to drill, baby, drill, because I think the prices are still too low. Look, candidly, why are we drilling so much and using all our oil? We should drill less, keep the price higher. Yeah, but the deregulation is going to help that sector as well. So it's going to be the winners and the losers. There's a lot of big companies with government contracts. They're going to be under huge pressure. I mean, these contracts are ridiculous. The prices we're paying for stuff are I've heard some stories. I don't want to use any names because they came from, the horse's mouth, so to speak, but some of the profits these people are making are astronomical. And so we've got to look at that. The other area that I think is interesting that we're going to see some things happening on is going to be when we look at defense, we look at the technology sector. Look, the technology sector, a couple things about it. Most of these companies are basically oligopolies or monopolies. The technology sector has been, if you look at Meta, if you look at Google, if you look at Apple, these big tech companies have been very unfriendly to the Trump administration and the conservatives. We don't owe these people a thing. As a matter of fact, they've treated us grossly unfairly in a result. Actually, one of the things that resulted in the last election, they've basically been one-sided in the whole thing. But there's monopoly issues, there's antitrust issues, there's privacy issues. These companies are making fortunes off our private data, and they're not paying us for it. So there's going to be big pressure on these big tech companies as well. If you look at the valuations on the tech sector, they're well above anything else out there. They're holding the stocks up using stock buyback programs, but that's going to start coming to an end. So we don't like the big tech companies. I think their run is over. I like Tesla. I think that's an interesting one. It's expensive, but But some of the other ones, I think there's going to be big pressure. NVIDIA, it's expensive, and eventually there's going to be more competition. I think you want to start looking. We're looking past, kind of down the value chain to who's going to be using it, who can profit from it as well. But those are something. Crypto, look, the show's not commented on crypto. I get questions about that. This goes back to, years ago when one of our family members was in the Mt. Gox exchange, and it blew up, and he lost his money for at least 10 years. And since then, I think right now gold is a better buy than the crypto. I think the crypto is a bubble. The government kept everybody out of crypto. The Biden administration made sure nobody could buy crypto, and then all of a sudden it gets to $100,000, and everyone, these people are unloading the crypto on top of, the Bitcoin on top of other people. That's just, again, we're probably not the best people to talk about the crypto. But so those are some of the things. I think you want to have a higher level of cash. We're still looking at close to 4.85% on money markets, which is still a pretty good deal in coming into an uncertain environment. But it's not just the money market. It's also short-term bonds. You can get 4.2% out to 10 years. To 2 years, which isn't a bad place to be at all. And you can lock in those returns, and it's a guaranteed number. And I think until we get an idea what's going to happen. Now, longer-term bonds, I think there's going to be some type of crisis that's going to push the longer end up. And at that point in time, then I think that's going to be your opportunity to do something there. I think that's what we're looking. That's kind of our outlook for 2025 is really wait for the opportunity, wait for the honeymoon to kind of go away on the Trump administration, the battles begin, and then see. Because we're going to have there's budget limits coming up. The budget limit basically ends at early next year, and at that point in time, they've got to come up with a new program. How are they going to do it? And here's the problem. In the past, we hit these budget limits, and it's like it's a big crisis, and it lasts for 3 weeks. For 2 weeks, say, and then the Congress meets. They sit down together, and what do they get? They cut the budget 1%, and everybody's happy. Look, what did we say earlier in the show? Budget deficit this year about 6.8, 6.7%, depending on how you look at it. These numbers are huge. Do you realize? Our budget deficit for October was up over $100 billion above any other time in history. And what that was all about is the Biden administration shoved a bunch of borrowing into fiscal 2025 so they could make the 2024 budget, which was gigantic at 6.8% of GDP, look better. So already this year we're 150 billion over on our deficits. So so we're spending this money. So there has to be some type of serious action put in place. So what we run into is we don't get. So people see in the rest of the world, look, wow, we're serious in the United States of America. We're going to cut our budgets. We're going to straighten up. We're cutting our spending. We're getting our act together in the United States of America. And then maybe China goes, whoa, I will lend you money. The Arabs, I'll buy your bonds. They're already starting. What are they doing? First of all, Secretary Bissett is coming out with Donald Trump and said, if you're involved in these new alternative to the dollar campaigns, we're going to put bigger tariffs on you. So we're telling these people, look, we want you to buy our bonds. Well, this is about buying our bonds. They know that we're in deep trouble with this government spending. $1 trillion every 100 days of additional borrowing. $1 trillion. No one even knows what $1 trillion is. So what they're going to try to do is they've got their plan in place, and they're going to do it because they're trying to convince the rest of the world, but that's going to take big cuts. And so these big cuts aren't going to be, they're going to be painful. It's going to slow down part of the economy. It's going to cause a rise of inflation. So we want to be cautious. You want to go into the year end being a little more cautious and changing up your positioning. We'll be writing about this in our Max Out Savings report coming up, which you can get a copy at maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com. But But one good thing is we're in the best position of anywhere else in the world right now. China is in big trouble. Their economy is in severe trouble. They have a massive real estate bubble. They're in the same place we were in the 1980s, and it took a while to get out of it, and you had inflation. Inflation is going up in Japan. The Europeans are just basket cases. I mean, it's remarkable how they've screwed up their economy, and they're shutting down factories all over the place. They're going to have to restructure. So the United States is the place to be. It's where everybody wants to be. And I think it's going to be exciting, but understand, sometimes you look where there's other people that you can go you can buy something cheaply, and I think some of those international areas are getting pretty cheap. So this is kind of the strategy. And remember, we're managing through inflation because we're very cognizant of the dangers of retirement. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for listening to the Max Out Savings Show. We appreciate it. This is a special presentation on Sunday. Typically, we're on Saturdays at 10 a.m. On AM 1070 KNTH. You can also listen to the podcast as well. We write about all these issues. If you'd like some help, go to our website, maxoutsavings.com. You can request a free newsletter, and if you want, we can help you manage your retirement assets using our value investing approach to the stock and bond market. You can request an appointment with me, Ted Gioka, and I'm here in Houston. Our headquarters is here in Houston, Texas, and I'll be happy to sit down and talk to you and show you how to protect your retirement. So if you need some help, go to the website, maxoutsavings.com. And in the interim, remember our motto and philosophy, which is to save aggressively and invest conservatively. Save aggressively, invest conservatively. That, my friends, is the key to building up wealth over the long term. Hopefully you'll tune in next week on Saturday at 10 a.m. right here on the Max Out Savings Show.
This has been the Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka, a presentation of Max Out Savings Advisors. Join us next Saturday at 10 a.m. for the Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka on AM 1070. The Answer.